give you all the glory. You are my rock, my strength and my trust. In you I live and move and have my being. You are my shelter, my peace and my shield. You are my everything. You are worthy to be praised. You are my rock, my strength and my trust. In you I live and move and have my being. You are my shelter, my peace and my shield. You are my everything. You are worthy to be praised. Sweet Jesus, beautiful King, no Father like you, no friend like you. Your love for me is everlasting. No one like you, no one like you. Sweet Jesus, beautiful King, there is no Father like you, no friend like you. Your love for me is everlasting. No one like you, no one like you. You are my rock, my strength, my trust. In you I live and move and have my being. You are my shelter, my peace and my shield. You are my everything. You are worthy to be praised. You are my rock, my strength, my trust. In you I live, I move and you are my.
All right, so good evening, good afternoon, good morning, everyone, wherever you're joining from today. How are you doing today? It is the day the Lord has made. We'll rejoice and be glad in it. I'm so glad that we're having this program today, right about now. I know that some of you are joining right now, and it's morning right there, wherever you are. Right now in Lagos, Nigeria, it's actually getting to the night, so it's 40 minutes after 7. So again, I want to apologize that we did not start 7 on the dot. Really very sorry about that. But I'm so glad that we're starting this and we're doing this by the way. Now today, joining me in the studio to discuss this all important topic is my friend, my brother, and the colleague in the ministry, and that's bro Mwalimu Chaka Wa Musa. Bro, how are you doing today?
Hey, doing well. Peace be upon you, my brother Karede.
It's nice having you right here, my brother. How are you doing? How is everything? Now, what time is it over there in the US? What time is it right
It's
now?
actually depending with where you are exactly. On my end, it's 1:15 p.m.
Wow, 1:15, and it's already 7 right here. I mean, 7 p.m. right here. So,
That is
anyways,
yes.
it's a wonderful world. It's a wonderful world where some people are trying to, they are getting prepared to sleep, and then some are just waking up to get to do one or two things. Well, today we're going to be talking about something very important, and every time we talk about issues on the show, we're talking about things that are very important, things that have to do with our lives, things that have to do with religion and all of that, especially as regard to Christianity and Islam. And the reason why we're doing the show today is because of what has been happening in Nigeria recently. So, bro, Chaka, let me feed you in about what has been happening in Nigeria, especially as regard to the hijab. Now, in Lagos State, a couple of years ago, there was a kind of controversy in Lagos State, especially both in the primary and the secondary school. The Muslims were actually agitating that the Muslim students, the female, should be able to use hijab in the secondary school. I'm talking about the public school right now, not even the private, that they should be allowed to use the hijab. Now, that has caused a lot of controversies. Some schools do not allow it. They are not welcoming the ideas, but the Muslim rose up against that notion and they fought it. In fact, this particular issue went to the court. So that's to show you how serious it was. They actually took it to the courts, and eventually hijab was granted for whoever want to use it, especially the Muslim students. So it was a victory for the Muslims. They were so happy that hijab was granted for the Muslimah to be used in the secondary school. Now, aside that, also there was a particular incident that happened as regard, lawyers, barristers in Nigeria as well. So there's this particular lady also that came up with the what she was about to call to bar. She was going to be called to bar, and she was putting her hijab on. And those guys there were like, "Hey, you can't do this. We can't have your hijab on, and go on with the program this way." So that also caused a lot of buhaha. A lot of things were going on, and people were just arguing about do we have do we allow the Muslimah who are actually practicing law, should we allow them to use hijab when they are called to bar, or should we even allow it in the practice and all of that? And again, it went to the courts. I mean, this was actually discussed at a high level, and then eventually victory was granted. So now they can actually use their hijab while practicing the law as a profession. Now, most recently, is the one that happened in Kwara State. We have the Muslim community in Kwara State agitating that they want the Muslim, that's the Muslim female, the student, the Muslimah, to be able to use the hijab right there in the missionary school, the Christian missionary school, though a public school, but they want that the hijab should be used in that school. All right. Now, a lot of questions have been asked that is this religious tolerance if the school, which is actually a Christian school, missionary school, allows hijab to be used? Do we call that a religious tolerance? Now, the part of the Muslims, some are asking that are they not going to the extreme by actually trying to enforce hijab in a missionary school? All right. And then you see, there's been a lot of argument back and forth and all of that. Now, what actually arose my mind concerning this? In fact, it has been in my mind when the issue of hijab was discussed in Lagos State, okay, in the schools in Lagos State. I see the passion that the Muslim Ummah, all right, the passion that they exhibited in wanting that the hijab should be granted to the Muslim women, the Muslim folks, and all of that. I see that passion right there, and I'm like, wow, if these guys have this passion, okay, towards the hijab, they want the hijab to be used and all of that. Now, how many of them really understand the reason why the hijab was actually commanded in the Quran in the first place? I mean, it was a question that was born in my mind. I mean, if you have passion for something, you should be able to understand the reason why you have passion. I mean, your passion should not be out of ignorance, okay? You should understand the reason why you're doing what you're doing. So that actually has been, coming up in my mind, and I just feel like I could educate with the little that I know concerning the revelation, the origin of the hijab in Islam, could educate the Muslim folks, okay, the Muslimah, concerning this particular issue. And then finally, when this actually came up in Kwara again, I said, this is actually something that we need to discuss. We can't keep shying away from this. We need to talk about this. All right. So today we're going to be talking about the origin of hijab in Islam, and this is the reason why we're talking about it, because we want our Muslim folks to understand why this even came up in the very first place. So, Bro Chaka, that is the little. There's so many more things. In fact, it got to a point where the Muslims and the Christians in Kwara State, at the point they were throwing stones at each other. You understand that kind of a thing. So it was so pathetic that these guys are actually throwing stones. I mean, I can't explain all of the things that are going on down there. A lot of terrible things are going on down there. So I just felt that we should talk about this, and that's the reason why we're having the program for today. So I want to welcome all of those people that actually on the show today. Thank you very much, Brakupola, right here on YouTube. Thank you very much. He says hello, Bro Chaka, and he's saying hello to you, Bro Chaka. All right. And then we have our brother all the way from Uganda, Bro Umar Yazi. Thank you very much for coming in, joining in also. Thank you very much. We also have Bello Mahmoud, a Muslim friend. And of course, it started with a controversy already, saying, you don't even know how to pronounce the Muslimah. Oh my God. All right. I think it's too early for us to begin to take maybe when we're entertaining questions, we can go on and on. All right. So he also stated that you're a disgrace to all intellectuals. Oh my God. I'm a disgrace. Oh my God.
Oh, he just started on that.
I can understand. I can understand the reason why he's feeling that way, because he knows there are some certain things we're going to be saying about hijab today that will be revealing. So I can understand the reason why he's doing what he's doing. So, Bro Chaka, we're going to be talking about hijab today. Before we have a clip of Yasakadi talking about the hijab in just about 5 minutes. So before we begin to talk about that, before we show the clip and then we'll begin to make comments and go into the Islamic sources, why do you think it's important for us to talk about the issue of the origin of hijab in Islam, Bro Chaka?
Thank you once again for the opportunity. Dear viewer, I also want to greet you in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ and to welcome you. Thank you for taking time to join us today. Allow me to wish you the blessings and the peace of God to be upon you. Now, currently you've asked a very genuine and good question. I think you've given us an analogy and the history based in West Africa and in particular in Nigeria. And I would say this is a controversy that has been all over the world. I mean, we that are in the West, there's been a lot of, controversy again with the Muslim immigrants, having an issue. Should they adopt the Western culture or they bring in their own cultures? And so the discussion on the hijab, the veil, whether it should be used in schools or not, it has been a great subject of discussion. And hijab here, as we use it in this connotation, to mean the head veil. Of course, hijab can mean other things, but in this particular, we are talking about the head cover. And so it has been a lot of discussion on that. And so it is a discussion that comes on time. And therefore, it is important that we go back to the roots of Islam and then realize, did this actually veiling even start from Islam, or what was the origin of it all? And I think it's very relevant to the discussions that we are having today.
Awesome. Thank you very much for that, Bro Chaka. So right now, we're going to be taking a look at what Yasakade had to say concerning the issue of hijab. It's not covering it completely. It's just talking about a couple of things, and I think it's enlightening. The reason why we're doing this is because we want the Muslims to see a scholar from their own end saying one or two things about this before we begin to talk about it as well. So you don't say we're quoting your scholar out of context. You don't say we're beginning to say things that we're not supposed to say. We're misrepresenting your religion. So please, we wanted to listen to Yasakade for about 5 minutes, and thereafter we're going to begin to talk about what we know from the Islamic sources concerning the hijab. All right, so let's see what Yasakade had to say.
And this was after the verses of hijab had been revealed. When were the verses of hijab revealed? Maybe we can find out when did Muraisi' take place. Sadly, it doesn't matter to us because the verses of hijab were revealed at the end of the 4th year of the hijrah. So either 5th or 6th doesn't matter. That doesn't help us. Okay? The verses of hijab were revealed Dhul Qa'dah of the 4th year of the hijrah. Right? And I mentioned when I teach the class about the fiqh of clothing and the fiqh of food, I mentioned that the verses of hijab were of the last commandments to be revealed after salah, after zakah, after inheritance, after fasting Ramadan, after zakatul fitr, right? After marriage and divorce, which is in Baqarah. The verses of hijab were of the very last commandments to be revealed in terms of the personal dietary laws and whatnot, right? No doubt hijab is important, but I point out that I think many of us have made hijab even more important than the salah. It's like we immediately decide instantaneously based on the hijab. No doubt, hijab is important, but put it in its place. It was revealed at the end of the 4th year, not at the beginning of the 1st year like the salah or something. Okay? Actually the salah was pre-hijrah, excuse me. The zakah was the beginning of the 1st year and all that. And nonetheless, she said, so the verses of hijab had been revealed, and therefore I would travel in a hawdaj. A hawdaj. What is a hawdaj? It's a mini tent, if you like. We all are familiar with it, and it's basically something you put on the camel, and it is an envelope. It's like a small tent that a person can sit inside. Canopy, something you put on the camel. It's a canopy that a person can sit in. And to this day, some cultures they use it. A person is carried in it or something. We see it on television in the old days. People would carry a nobleman. 4 people would carry. This is the hawdaj, and then you put it on the camel. Now, the hijab of the Prophet's wives was extra. The hijab of the Prophet's wives was extra, and the wives of the Prophet, they had to be covered not just in their personal body, but their space as well had to be covered. And this was only for the wives of the Prophet, and this is explicit in the Quran. Explicit in the Quran. The Quran says, وَإِذَا سَأَلْتُمُوهُنَّ مَتَاعًا فَاسْأَلُوهُنَّ مِنْ وَرَاءِ حِجَابٍ. If you ask the wives of the Prophet for anything, if you talk to them, speak to them from behind a hijab. And this is what Aisha is saying, that this incident of Muraisi' took place after the verses of hijab. The term hijab in the Quran, I'm going into a tangent here, but it's something we should know, it's very important. The term hijab in the Quran does not mean headscarf. In our vernacular, it means a headscarf. We say, does she wear hijab? I started wearing the hijab, means the headscarf. This is modern Arabic, which is fine, not a problem. Quranic Arabic, the hijab meant a physical curtain that separates the entire body, not just on your body. It's a curtain between you and the speaker. This is the Quranic usage of hijab. And this usage of hijab, according to the Quran, only the wives of the Prophet ﷺ have to enforce that type of hijab. As for the headscarf, the Quran references this with the term khimar. With the term khimar. وَلْيَضْرِبْنَ بِخُمُرِهِنَّ عَلَى جُيُوبِهِنَّ. Let them wear their khimar, plural of khimar, over their juyub, which is their bosoms. Their scarves should cover their chests as well. Because the women of Jahiliyyah, by the way, they would wear headscarves, by the way. The women of Jahiliyyah would wear a headscarf. Every respectable, dignified lady would cover her hair, just like in America 100 years ago. Impossible for a dignified lady. Only the peasants and the rural people without money, without education, they would be without. And the same in Arabia. Every single lady of respect and of middle class would wear a headscarf. But, just like in America as well, the headscarf would be thrown back and the dresses get lower and lower. You get the point, right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, no. When you wear the headscarf, cover the bosom. وَلْيَضْرِبْنَ بِخُمُرِهِنَّ عَلَى جُيُوبِهِنَّ. Right? So anyway, the point here, Aisha says the verses of hijab had been revealed. And by this we mean an extra layer above and beyond the khimar, above and beyond the jilbab, which is another Quranic term, right? يا أيها النبي يا قل لأزواجك وبناتك ونساء المؤمنين يدنين عليهن من جلابيبهن. That's another verse. So the khimar and jilbab is mentioned for all women. The mothers of the believers, the wives of the Prophet ﷺ, the daughters of the Prophet ﷺ, and all of the women. Khimar and jilbab. And this is what our sisters wear. For the wives of the Prophet ﷺ, there's only the hijab. Now, a reason I say this, by the way, and it's very important, I know it's not directly related. These days you will hear some modernists or progressives say, the hijab was only for the wives of the Prophet ﷺ. And this is a technically true statement that is intended for something false. This is a technically true statement. كلمة حق أريد بها باطل. It's a true statement, but something evil is intended through it. It is true, the Quranic hijab is only for the wives of the Prophet ﷺ. But what is the Quranic hijab? It is this extra layer of curtain, right? Whereas what these people try to say is that the hijab, meaning how we understand it, which is the khimar and jilbab, is only for the wives of the Prophet ﷺ. And this is wallahi foolishness that shows a complete ignorance of the Quran. It's so explicit. يا أيها النبي قل لأزواجك وبناتك ونساء المؤمنين. Tell your wives and your daughters and the believing women, يدنين عليهن من جلابيبهن. They should all cover themselves with a jilbab. This is in the Quran. The word jilbab and the word khimar as well. That all believing women, وَلْيَضْرِبْنَ بِخُمُرِهِنَّ عَلَى all believing women, including the wives of the Prophet ﷺ. And Aisha would wear a khimar, and she would wear a jilbab, but she would also have a hijab. Right? So in any case, getting back to the story now, so she's saying this was after the verses of hijab, so she's explaining, why am I in a hodaj? Why am I in a canopy? Because she, unlike any other woman, she cannot ride a camel anymore. The figure of Aisha could not be seen in public. The figure, even completely covered. She has to be always in that canopy. And in her house as well, nobody can speak to her except from behind the curtain. Right? And that is why the only person, the main narrator from Aisha was her nephew, Urwa, because he's a mahram. So Urwa did not have to speak from behind the hijab. Urwa could enter from, and speak to her from behind the hijab. Whereas all of the other people spoke from on the other side of the hijab. So.
All right, folks. You have a heads up from Yasakado right there talking about the hijab, and he actually gave an interesting point of view. We're not going to be talking about that in the full details, because what we're focusing on today is the origin of the hijab. How does it come about in the Quran? That's actually what we're going to be talking about today. It did not actually touch on that, but we decided to let you see that video so you get to see the perspective of Yasakadi concerning that, so you understand where we're coming from. All right, so Bro Chaka, we're going to be talking about the origin of the hijab today. So can you tell us a bit of some of the things that actually come from the Quran, most likely the Islamic tradition, concerning the origin of the hijab?
Now, Yasukadi spoke about something there that I want you, dear viewer, to remember. It said about this verse of hijab coming in the 4th or the 5th year after Muhammad immigrates to Medina. And the immigration of Muhammad to Medina happens in the year 621 AD. Mm. And so we're talking about 4 or 5 years later, and it says it is after other things have been obligated, like salat and all these things. And then so it's and then it comes. Now there are 2 stories that have been narrated on the origin of the hijab or the command. They are basically 2 explanations that we find in Islamic sources. Okay. And I will just want to share a little bit from what I see in the hadiths. Okay. I just who have I don't know whether you are able to check on what I'm reading.
I have a couple of hadiths here, but I need to know the one you're talking about, so I could actually bring.
So I want to start with the report from Aisha.
Okay.
Aisha seems to narrate to us that the hijab or the veil is actually as a result of Omar bin Khattab. Omar bin Khattab's advice. Now, Omar bin Khattab was later to become the second Khalifa, the second leader after Muhammad's death. And there are things that Omar said. Now, Aisha narrates to us that the messenger of Allah saying, the prayer of a woman who has reached puberty is not accepted unless she's wearing a veil. So a veil is
Interesting.
something, interesting, something important, and we will be looking at that according to Quran chapter number 24 and verse 31. But the most important thing that I want you to look at, and that is where I will begin, it is this narration here that Aisha narrates. She says,
Okay.
Umar bin Khattab used to say to Allah's messenger, let your wives be veiled, but he did not do so. In other words, it was Umar who was advising Muhammad, can your wives be veiled? And then so one day when they were going out to answer the call of nature at night at a place called Al-Manas, Sauda, which is one of the wives of Muhammad, went out, and it says here she was a tall woman. Umar bin Khattab saw her while he was gathering and said, I have recognized you, O Sauda. I was anxious for some divine orders regarding the veiling of women. So Allah revealed the verse of veiling. That is the verse of hijab. In other words, Allah responded to Omar's request, Omar's desire. So that is one perspective. I want to read the second hadith. It says, narrated Aisha, it's on the same subject. The wives of the Prophet used to go to Al-Manas, a vast open place near back here at Medina, to answer the call of nature at night. Umar used to say to the Prophet, let your wives be veiled, but Allah's apostle did not do so. So this is again narrated, the same story, but this time it is narrated in Sahih al-Bukhari. So what we see from this first kind of hadiths is that we see Omar on one hand, we see his desire to have the women veiled. Now, we can ask ourselves, why did Omar desire that the women should be veiled? Had he seen other veiled women? Because this is Medina, this is Yathrib, it is no longer in Makkah. So what is happening here, that he desires that their women should also be veiled. Now, and also focus on Sauda and who she was. Now, in the second hadith, Brother Korede, we see again coming from Nana Aisha, he said, Sauda bin Sama went out at night for some need, and Umar saw her, and he recognized her. He said to her, by Allah, O Sauda, you cannot hide yourself from us. This is the wife of the Prophet. So he's telling her, can't you hide yourself from us? In other words, those days, they used to go to an open place and respond to the call of nature. So she returned to the Prophet and mentioned that to him. See, Sauda now goes back to the husband and tells, you know what? I met Omar out there when I was going to the call of nature, and he recognized me and he told me this and this. And you remember Omar has been pestering the Prophet, about this veiling. And then the hadith goes on to say, and mentioned that to him while he was sitting in my dwelling, taking his supper and holding a bone covered with meat on his hand. And then the divine inspiration was revealed to him. And when that state was over, the Prophet was saying, oh, women, you have been allowed by Allah to go out of your needs. In other words, to go and answer the call of nature. So this my brother, are telling us something here that we need to discuss more.
Exactly. In fact, let's go back to the first one that you've discussed, the hadith. Actually, want to take a look at it now. But before we even discuss the hadith, I think we could actually take a look at a couple of verses that the Muslim use for hijab. Can we take a look at these verses?
Yes. We're gonna come to the Quran, but I just want to begin.
Okay, with the hadith.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. So let's take a look at the narrations we've taken a look at then, so that we can comment on them. Let's take a look at the very first one. That is from Sahih Bukhari, volume 1, book 4, hadith number 148. And it's interesting because this kind of a thing, I mean, things like this is actually, it makes you wonder what is actually going on. Okay, what actually going on? Is it the prophet receiving this revelation, or is this revelation from Allah himself? Okay, so let's read. It says, narrated Aisha, the wives of the prophets used to go to Al-Manasi, a vast open place near Baki in Medina, to answer the call of nature at night. Umar actually used to say to the prophet, let your wives be viewed. But Allah's apostle did not do so. One night, Sauda bin Zama, the wife of the prophet, said, the wife of the prophet went out at Isha, that's Isha time, and she was a tall lady. Umar addressed her and said, I have recognized you, O Sauda. He said so as he desired eagerly that the verses of hijab, that is the observing of the veil by the Muslim women, be revealed. So Allah revealed the verses of al-hijab, a complete body cover, excluding the eye. Now, the problem I see from here, from this particular narration, is that right from the onset, just like as you noted, Brother Chaka, what is so special? Why is it that Umar was asking for this veiling? Why is he asking for hijab? And secondly, what is also interesting is that anytime Umar goes to the prophet to ask that the women, that is especially the wife of the prophet, because here he's talking about the wife of the prophet, that the wife of the prophet be veiled, the prophet would not answer him. Now, to me, I feel that the prophet is not answering it because the prophet does not see the need for him to tell his wife to cover themselves. Okay. Now, that in and of itself is not supposed to be a divine revelation. I mean, Umar is giving his opinion, is giving his advice. Prophet, can you please do this concerning your wife? Can you please tell them to cover themselves? Now, I don't know. I don't want to, I'm not saying this is actually the case, but it's just one of the possibilities. Could it be that Umar is fond of the wife of the prophet? Is there something attractive about the wives of the prophet that Umar is trying to prevent, such that he had to go to the prophet, please tell your wives to cover themselves? Maybe one of the wives or two or three is actually too attractive for Umar, and Umar is trying to control himself. Now, I'm not saying this in a negative light, because for Umar to be saying this, there must be something he's saying. Now, we don't know what he has seen so far, but for him to be saying this, there's something that Umar has seen. So I don't know what it is. Now, eventually, when Umar keep persisting and the prophet would not listen to him, according to the narration, let's take a look at it, which is the last part. Now, look at what it says. It said, in fact, that's the last part. It says, so as a desire eagerly for the verses of hijab. That means Umar has been wanting this. He wanted it all along. All right, that the hijab verse came, and according to the last sentence, it says, so Allah revealed the verses of hijab, meaning that eventually Allah granted the will of Umar. Now, we're still going to be taking a look at some hadith narration that talks about Umar himself confessing. Okay, I wouldn't call that a confession, where he's asserting himself that Allah agreed with him, or should he say that he agreed with Allah on some certain thing. We're going to be taking a look at that. But Bro Chaka, what do you have to say about this particular narration?
When we read the Quran, chapter 33 and verse 52 there,
okay,
we see the latter end of that verse. We will come to read later on, but we see the latter end of it where Muhammad actually, or Allah commands that the believers, when speaking to the wives of the prophet, they should speak behind a hijab, behind a veil.
Yeah.
In other words, and then he says, and when you speak to them, do not raise your voices. So that in your heart something does, a feeling for the prophet's wife does not enter into you. So perhaps it goes back to the very question you're asking. What was Umar's fear in the first place, so that he can say such a thing, that tell your wives to cover themselves, or for him to desire a veil. In other words, probably he had seen other veiled women, and so he desired that the Muslim should also be veiled in such a manner.
Can we take a look at the verse of the Quran? I'm actually posting it right now. Let's take a look at it on the screen. It says, "O believer," Quran chapter 33, verse 53. It says, "O believers, do not enter the homes of the prophet without permission, and if invited for a meal, do not come too early and linger until the meal is ready." Now, I'm already having problems with this particular verse of the Quran, but let's continue. "But if you are invited, then enter on time. Once you have eaten, then go your way and do not stay for casual talk. Such behavior is truly annoying to the prophet. Yes, he's too shy to ask you to leave, but Allah is never shy of the truth. And when you believer ask his wife for something, which is actually what you're saying, brother, ask them from behind the barrier. Some say behind the veil. Ask them from behind the barrier. This is purer for your heart and theirs. And it is not right for you to annoy the messenger of Allah, nor ever marry his wife after him. This would certainly be a major offense in the sight of Allah." Is that not interesting, brother?
Now, there are two interesting things in this verse. Just put it on the screen.
All
There
right.
are two interesting things that we see here. So it says, "O ye believers, when you enter into the prophet's house." Now, the occasion, the Zababul Nuzul for this verse has been said that the occasion of it is the wedding of Muhammad to Zainab bint Jash.
Yeah, that's true.
Zainab bint Jash is the first cousin of Muhammad. In other words, they are all grandchildren of Abdul Talib. Now, Zainab bint Jash used to be the wife of Muhammad's adopted son, Zaid bin Aritha, or Zaid bin Muhammad, as he used to be called. And so after he divorces her, which we find in chapter 33, verse 37 and verse 40. So after Zaid divorces her, he has used her and now divorces her, Muhammad goes ahead to marry her. Now, after he marries her, it is the first time we are told that he actually prepared a banquet.
Yeah.
But the problem is the Muslims were not going away. The prophet wants to go and consummate the marriage, but the people are lingering around. They're still in the house. And so how can he chase them away? He chases them away by divine revelation.
That's interesting.
So he comes up with a revelation, or rather Allah gives him this revelation that says, "Oh, you believers, when you enter into the arms of the prophet." Now today the prophet is not there. So how should we even deal with this verse? So when you enter into his house, do not just, when you are invited, do not just sit there and wait for the meal. And even after you've eaten this meal that you've been offered, just go away. You know why? Because the prophet wants time with Zainab. You remember, he's been waiting for her. He's been waiting, telling his adopted son, "Man, keep your wife, keep your wife." In his heart, he's hiding his love, his affection for this woman. And so eventually he has this woman, and then Korede and the other believers do not want to go away. So now he chases them by divine revelation. And then what does he say? The next part, the other part says, "And when you speak to his wives, you should now do so behind a veil, behind an hijab."
Yes.
Now, and this is where I agree with Sheikh Yasser Qadi that the veil here, the hijab here, is meant a barrier.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So then it's not talking about the head cap. And then it says, "This is good for your hearts and for his heart." And then this verse is very fascinating. It says, on the latter part, it says, "And it is not good that you may marry his wives after him." Two other things that we find in the hadith. We find a man called Abdullah. And this guy, Ibn Ubaidullah, he loved Aisha. He loved Aisha. And he looked at Aisha, she was a young girl, and he looked at the prophet as an old man, and he said, "When the prophet dies, I will marry Aisha." And so when that word go to the prophet, again he gets divine revelation. He says, the wives of the prophet are umul muminuna. They are your mothers. In other words, you cannot marry your mother. So if you go to chapter 33 and verse 40, the Quran says, Muhammad is not a father to any among your men.
That's true.
In other words, is referring to Zaid bin Haritha. You should no longer say Zaid bin Haritha. You should say, let's say Zaid bin Muhammad. You should say Zaid bin Harith. So he says he's not a father. But now here, because he has been cornered, he says, my wives are your mothers. So you cannot marry your mother. You see? So the big question now comes, if his wives are our mothers, how can he not be our father? In some kirat, like the kirat of Ibn Kab, which says, and actually which talked about the fatherhood of Muhammad to believers. But that is subject to something else. But here we ask ourselves then, if he says it's not good for you to marry his wife after him, in other words, after he has died. Now, this is something that again goes even against the Torah, against the law of God, because a woman is bound to the husband as long as
he's alive.
But Muhammad is so jealous of his wives, as we will see later in their death, that even in his death, he is still jealous. He doesn't want. Can you imagine when he died, Aisha was only 18 years old.
Wow.
And she was condemned to a life of a widow for the rest of her life.
Forceful celibacy. Forceful.
Yeah, because she's been called the mother of believers. Correct.
All right, folks, I just want us to understand what we're doing right here. We're trying to take a look at the origin of the Islamic hijab. Now, we've taken a look at a couple of hadith narration, and if you take a look at the very first one we looked at, it talked about one of the wives of the prophet, being seen outside, and that is Sauda. She was being seen outside, and Umar has been saying that, wow, Muhammad, please, can you tell your wives to cover themselves up? Tell the wife to cover themselves up. Muhammad has not yielded to that advice, But eventually, when the wife of the prophet eventually now told Muhammad what happened, that, see, I've actually been seen in the public, I've been discovered and all of that. That is when the verse of the hijab actually came in. Can you imagine that? Now, as Muslims, I know most of you think that the reason why the hijab came in initially, because that's what we've been told, that the hijab actually came in so that there can be a form of modesty for the women. Now, part of the verse of the Quran that we read actually says that, but that is not the true light of the story. That was not the reason why that came into being. The reason why it came into being actually was because the Muslim women, actually one of the wife of the prophet, was seen in the public, all right? And the prophet could not even hold it for his wife to be seen in the public. And that was when the revelation of the hijab came in. Now, of course, according to what Brother Chaka had said, we have seen two stories now of the revelation of hijab. We have one from Omar giving an account of what happened through Aisha, and then we have another account also. We're going to get to that. But before we get to that, I want us to take a look at the verse that Brother Chaka just talked about now, Quran chapter 33. Quran chapter 33, verse 53. Please, let's take a look at this verse again and read it very carefully. I mean, this is actually terrible. So it says, "O believer, do not enter the home of the prophet without permission. And if invited for a meal, do not come too early." And it now continues, "Linger until the meal is ready." Now, what this is saying, in essence, is that if you're a Muslim in the time of the Prophet of Islam, you don't come into the house of the Prophet of Islam until you are invited. All right? You only come by invitation. So you can't say, "Hey, I want to come to the house of the Prophet today." No, you can't. It has to give you an appointment for you to come to his house. Now, I don't see much of a big deal in that, I don't see much of a big deal because he's a national man. A lot of people come to his house. So if appointment is not given, the house can become rowdy and all of that. So let's go ahead with that, in the first place. It now says that if you're invited for a meal, so let's say the prophet invited you for a meal by 4 o'clock, You don't go there by 3:50. That is a sin. All right. By going there by 3:50, you are inconveniencing the prophet. Okay. So don't go there by 3:50. Only get there by 4 sharp. All right. Maybe 1 minute after 4 is okay. But then get there by 4 o'clock. If the prophet invites you for a meal, don't go there by 3:30 and then you start gisting and talking, saying that you're waiting for the meal to be ready or that you're waiting for the 4 o'clock. You don't do that. The prophet does not like it because the prophet is shy. I'm not putting words into the mouth of the Quran. I want the Quran to actually say what it's actually saying. Okay. It says you don't linger until the meal is ready. Okay. Now, it now goes further. It says, but if you are invited, then enter on time once you have eaten. So, for instance, if you're invited for a meal and you have eaten, then go your way. Do not stay for casual talk. Now, if you're invited for a meal and you have finished your meal, so let's say you use 10 minutes, 15 minutes to finish your meal. You're invited for 4 o'clock appointment. You use 15 minutes to finish your meal. So 15 minutes after 4, you're done. You don't begin to wait and say, "Oh, Holy Prophet, thank you for the presentation you gave yesterday. You know, I was so fascinated about what you did. Holy Prophet, can you see that lady going? She's not even properly dressed." You don't sit down for all those kind of talk. Or probably if you are too, yes.
Excuse me, but for me, I can agree with some of the people in the comment section that are saying there's actually no Allah in this verse.
It's so clear. It's just so clear.
It's trying to justify. It's trying to look for reasons.
Exactly.
Why these people should, not bother him every other time.
Exactly. It's just so clear. Let me go further. Now, it now says that you don't sit down for a casual talk. Once you are done with your meal, go off, go away. All right. Now, the question is, why is it that this is disturbing the prophet? It says such behavior is truly annoying to the prophet. Okay. The behavior is annoying to the prophet, but this is actually the problem. Yet he is too shy to ask you to leave. Can you imagine this situation, Brother Chaka? Imagine myself and yourself. We went to the house of the prophet. We've done eating, and then we started talking about the khutbah that the prophet delivered yesterday, or maybe we started talking about the issues of that we have in the house, how we're going to deal with our women and all of that. The prophet is saying that he does not like it. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Brother Chaka. If I come into your house and I'm doing something that you do not like, what do you do, Brother Chaka? What do you do?
I gently tell you, I don't like what you're doing.
It's as simple as that.
And
you tell me.
One of the signs, not even as I say sign, but one of the habits of nafikun. And when I say nafikun, I think the Muslim friends would understand very well. Is that the
hypocrite? Yeah,
an hypocrite. They say something by their faces and by their words, which is not in their hearts. And this is exactly what we see from verse 40. We see a man that is telling his son, don't worry, be with your wife, but in his heart, he is is very in love with this woman. We see a man that is, shy to tell people, don't go away, you can stay, it's okay. My wife give them food, but in his heart, he is hiding the real fact that he doesn't want them in his home.
I mean, as a leader,
the character of a prophet that we see.
I mean, as a leader, you should be able to tell, you're actually right. You should be able to tell the followers that I'm sorry, I don't like this thing that you guys are doing. I think I want to have a moment. So please, can you just excuse me? I mean, it's nothing wrong if you're telling your followers that you've not done anything wrong. All right. So the verse goes further. It says that, but Allah is never shy of the truth. Meaning that Muhammad is shy of telling the followers, that the Sahabas, is actually shy of telling them that I don't like what you guys are doing. I want you to leave right now. But Allah is not shy. Then it now goes further. This is actually the icing on the cake for me. Okay. It now says further. It says, but Allah is not shy. But when you believers ask his wife for something, ask them from behind a barrier. This is purer for your heart and theirs. Now, this tells me something, just like you stated before. This tells me that there is something wrong going between the wife of the prophet and also the believers. All right. Before this revelation came, something is already going on, because we already know for every verse of the Quran, there's always the occasion for the revelation. Yeah. Okay, so there's always an occasion for the revelation. For this particular verse to be revealed, it means that there is something going on. It could be that the followers, okay, the disciples of Muhammad, are beginning to develop an affectionate heart towards the wives of the prophet. So in order to caution that, okay, Allah now had to, through Muhammad, and had to give that revelation so that the Muslims will not go beyond their boundary. Now, it not goes further again to say, he said, this is prayer for your heart and the heart, and it is not right for you to annoy the messenger of Allah, nor ever marry his wife after him. This would certainly be a major offense in the sight of Allah. Wow. Yeah. Now let me say this, Bro Chaka.
Yes,
Bro Chaka.
Yes,
this is interesting. Let me ask you this question. Who actually brought this revelation? Who did Allah give the revelation of this verse, Bro Chaka?
According to Islam, he gave it to Muhammad.
But I guess, according to the verse of the Quran, Muhammad was actually shy. So how was he able to deliver the revelation?
You see, that's exactly what we're talking about, because he wanted to speak as if he's speaking on, it's not him, it's actually coming from Allah. I'm too shy, so whatever I'm saying is not from me, it is by divine inspiration. But when we actually look at the whole genesis of the whole thing, we see the persistence of his father-in-law. So his father-in-law is pressing him day by day, telling him, hey, tell your wives to cover themselves. I can see that. But you see, according to the African culture and even the Middle Eastern culture, the Eastern culture, if Korede, for example, if you saw a woman, not properly sat, allow me use that. It's not in our way of doing things to even tell her, you sat wrongly. It's very unethical for us as a people to do that. And so I wonder when Omar is looking at his son-in-law's wife, and he's going to say, hey, Asaida, I can see you.
Oh my God.
Sauda, we are told she was a tall woman, huge woman, and she's even described as fat. I'm not exaggerating. This is
that's what the hadith says. You're right.
The description that Muhammad is that we are seeing of this lady, and we told something else about this lady, that at this time, because of her shape and all that, one thing led to the other. In fact, when she was old, Muhammad desired to leave her. So when this woman saw her, she realized that the Prophet wants to divorce me. So what did she do? She decided, Muhammad at this time have between 9 to 15 wives, depending with what narration you're reading. And so she goes to the Prophet and says, please don't divorce me. Instead of divorcing me, please, I'm giving my share. I'm giving it over to Aisha. The young bride that you love, I'm giving her my day so that you, instead of being with me, you can be with Aisha. Can you imagine? And so, from that very moment, Muhammad now Aisha now had 2 shares, and by this, the book say, the narrations say that she wanted to seek the pleasure of Allah's messenger. She wanted, she feared that the Prophet would divorce her. Now, and then, so for me, when I read this, and then you're telling me that this is from divine revelation, surely it, for me, it doesn't make much sense, my brother.
Not at all. Bro Chaka, as a follow-up to this verse that we've looked at, the verse of not staying behind after eating and all of that, there's a particular narration that I want to actually share with you, and this is actually coming from Anas. Okay, you know we have two reasons why the hijab was revealed. Now,
Yes.
the first one was because the wife of the prophet was seen publicly, and the prophet does not like that. He disliked that, and before you know it, the revelation of the hijab came in. Okay, now we have another narration which is actually coming from.
Maybe I disagree with you on that. It is not the prophet did not like it. It is Omar did not like it.
Yeah, at the end of the day, yeah, Omar did not like it initially. He was telling the prophet, okay, make sure that your wives cover up, the cover up. But you see, when the information eventually got to the prophet that his wife was seen by Umar, that was when it was sanctioned completely based on one of the narration that we looked at. All right. Yeah, so let's take a look. Let's take a look at this particular narration from Anas, and then it's going to give more background to the verse of the Quran that we read before concerning you know, when you come into the meal heat and all of that. So here's what it says, okay? And it's very interesting for me because this hadith narration is actually very revealing. Here's what it says: narrated Anas bin Malik, I of all the people knows best this verse of hijab. Can you imagine that? Now, to me, that seems to be challenging. Okay, what he's saying is that there is no other person that knows more about the verse of the hijab more than myself. I know above every other person. So let's see what he has to say. All right. He continues to say, when Allah's messenger married Zainab bin Chash, she was with him in the house, and he prepared a meal and invited the people to eat. You can see what we're saying now. You know, it's actually going along with the verse of the Quran that we read, Quran chapter 33, verse 53. All right. So he invited the people to eat. Then sat down after finishing their meal and started chatting. Can you imagine? So people started chatting based on the verse that we read. So the prophet so the prophet went out and returned several times while they were still talking and sitting. Get the gist of what is going on here, Bro Chaka. While they were still sitting and chatting, according to this narration, it says the prophet would go out and come in. The prophets would go out and come in, and he was doing that on a purpose. The prophet was doing that because he does not want to speak. He was doing that thinking that by so doing, the followers will read the body language, meaning that I'm tired of you guys. You should go to your house now. I want to have a moment right here. Unfortunately, the followers were not catching the gist. They were just sitting down there, enjoying themselves, and they were chatting. They keep chatting. I don't know the number of times that the prophet going and out, could be 7, could be 14. The hadith narration did not tell us, but it was going out and coming in. Now I can remember in the African tradition,
the wife he's been waiting for.
Exactly. I don't know if this actually happened in the Western tradition, but in the African traditions, this is one of the things that we do. Okay, if you don't want to speak to people and you want to use body language to do some certain things, you use your body language. But again, I have a problem here. The prophet should have just told them. Now, if you've gone out like 5 times and you see that the people are not getting the gist, why don't you just tell them, guys, thank you very much. I appreciate. Thank you for coming to celebrate. To celebrate with me. Now, this is my time. I want to have a moment with my wife. See you guys tomorrow. It's as simple as that. I mean, why is it going out, coming in, as if it's looking for something? All right. So let's continue reading the hadith narration. Okay, so he went out and then returned several times while they were still sitting and talking. So Allah revealed the verse, "Oh, you will believe, enter not into the prophet house until leave is given to you for a meal, and then not so early as to wait for its preparation." And then it goes further. Ask them from behind the screen. That's talking about the wife. So the screen was set up and the people went away. Again, I find this fascinating because at the end of the day, we're seeing another perspective from Anas right now, that the prophet has been making a move, but it seems the follower did not seem to get it. And then a revelation came because of that. I can't imagine a revelation coming for domestic matters, Bro Chaka. This is supposed to be something that the prophet will be able to handle. Simply tell your followers, thank you very much, go home, see you guys tomorrow. Why do we need a revelation for that, Bro Chaka? Why?
How shy was this prophet that is willing to even take somebody's wife, you know? And then God commanded me to, you know. God told me that after you are done with her, she can be my wife. God told me now that you people should leave. You know, people should not be waiting for food. Don't wait for it to be prepared here. It's God. It's not me. God has said you can come when it is ready.
You can imagine that. Now, let me read another hadith narration for you, Brother Chaka.
Yes,
This hadith narration is an extension of the one we just read now. Okay, it gives more light into the origin of the hadith and sorry of the hijab. If you're a Muslim, you're watching this. All right. If you're a Muslim, you're watching this. You can see that the origin of the hijab in Islam is nothing divine at all. You can see it is born out of the selfishness of the Prophet of Islam. All right. It has nothing to do with the divine revelation. I mean, God is not revealing this because there's something that He wants to teach the Muslim. No, this has nothing to do. All right. Now let's read this hadith narration to show further the elaboration of the things that are happening. Okay. This is also narrated by Anas again. He says, narrated Anas, I know about the hijab, okay, the order of the veiling of women more than anybody else. Ubay bin Ka'b used to ask me about it. Allah's messenger became the bridegroom of Zainab bin Jahsh, whom he married at Medina. After the sun had risen high in the sky, the prophet invited the people to a meal, and Allah's apostle remained sitting, and some people remained sitting with him after the other gate has left. Then Allah's messenger got up and went away, and I too followed him till he reached the door of Aisha's room. Then he thought that the people must have left the place by then. Remember the hadith that we read before. Then he continued. So he returned, and I also returned with him. This person must have been very stubborn. And I returned with him. Behold, the people were still sitting at their places. So he went back again for the second time, and I went along with him. When we reached the door of Aisha's room, he returned and also returned with him. I also returned with him to see that the people had left. Thereupon the prophet hung a curtain between me and him, and the verse regarding the order for veiling of women was revealed. Can you imagine that? Look at all the drama. All right, the prophet would go inside, he will also go with the prophet, and then the prophet will go outside, he will also go out with the prophet. So the prophet is checking out to see if these people have gone or not. I mean, he's going in and out, yet they have not gone. And this same person following the prophet, when the prophet went into Aisha's room, he had to draw a curtain. You know what he's telling the guy? Hey, it's time to go. All right, he just had to draw a curtain and then tell the guy it's time to go. You don't need to be walking and following me on the run. Again, I'm asking the question, why can't the prophet just say, hello guys, thank you for coming, it's time to go, see you tomorrow? Why do we need the revelation for this to have happened? And again, if you're a Muslim listening to this, you can see that the origin of your hijab, especially for the women, is not because the women is going to be protected from anything external, because we have the Muslim Ummah right here. Okay, Islam is actually it actually has the upper hand at this point in time. Islam actually has the upper hand. It's not as if Islam is subjugated; they are not in fear of anybody. So what is the essence of now saying that the prophet is shy to tell the followers that he needs to go? I mean, at the end of the day, who is the person that Allah gave that revelation to? Was it not the prophet? So how did the message get to the people, if not through the prophet? And if the prophet is shy, how did it happen? Did he close his eyes while he was giving that revelation? Is it not still the same prophet that actually gave out that revelation? So this is actually clear from these few things we've seen so far, that the origin of the hijab is nothing divine. Bro Chaka, what do you have to say?
Now, I want you to read for me, if you are able to see that I did. Just read it for me. I've put it on the screen.
Okay. This actually, is it from Anas also? Okay, let me just read this. Let me read this actually from the way it is. Yeah, I think I have this on the screen, so I can also read it right from here. Okay. Excuse me. Okay, I'm going to read the one that you have on the screen. Not sure I have mine. I don't have that on my screen right there. Okay, so let me read. It says, it was narrated that Anas said, Umar said, I agree with my Lord on three matters. Oh, I think I have this one. I agree with my Lord on three matters. I said, O Messenger of Allah, why don't we take the Makam of Ibrahim as a place of prayer? Then the verse was revealed, and take you people, the Makam place of Abraham, or the stone on which Ibrahim which is Abraham, stood while he was building the Kaaba, a place of prayer. And I said, O messenger of Allah, both religious and evil people enter into your wives. So why don't you tell them to observe the hijab? Then the verse of hijab was revealed. And the wife of the messenger of Allah got together as a result of the jealousy between them. And I said to them, it may be if he divorce you all, that his Lord will give him instead of you wives better than you. And that is Surah Al-Karim, that's Quran chapter 66, verse 5. And it was revealed like that. All right. So
you see, here Omar is actually giving an explanation. And he's saying that Allah has agreed with me. In other words, it's him that said something. And he kept on telling Muhammad these things. And then Muhammad somehow is said to have come up with the revelation. Now, we are told that the Quran is preserved in the seventh heaven, way before the creation of Omar, way before the creation of human beings. But the hadith here is very giving us a very funny narration that Umar bin Khattab says that it was actually Allah that agreed with him. In other words, it is him that said it. And then once Al-Faruq says it, Allah comes to support whatever Omar has said. So my question is, was Omar in the seventh heaven? Did he know what is in the Alul Mafud? How did he even, get to understand this? And then, can you imagine it is him that is now telling the prophet, unbelievers are coming into your house. The believers are also coming into your wife. They might end up, loving your wives. So why don't you order that when we speak to them, there must be an hijab, there must be a veil?
That's interesting, Bro Chaka. This is very interesting. Now, from the statement you've just made now, we can conclude that Umar was the one that inspired the revelation of the hijab. Okay?
Exactly.
From this narration. But you see, there's something very interesting from what you also said. There's something interesting. And this sounds anachronistic for me. Imagine from the hadith narration that we read, it says that that Umar is actually wanting the verse of the hijab to be revealed. What is that supposed to mean? It means that Umar actually knew that there's supposed to be a verse for hijab. Is that not what it means? Okay, so we've been receiving. It's not there. You can imagine that. So who inspired Umar to have thought of that? Does that mean that Umar is also being given revelation by Jibril? Does Jibril actually come to Umar to give him revelation that Umar, you see, maybe the prophet is not paying attention. I actually want to reveal the verse of hijab, but he's not paying attention. Can you please, keep pressurizing him, keep talking to him, and then so that the verse of hijab can come in? I mean, it's actually problematic, and this is one of the reasons why some people, some Muslims actually don't believe in some hadiths, because they believe that it's a kind of anachronistic kind of stuff. They're just trying to make up stuff to explain some certain things, okay? Because when you're saying this thing, this is just blowing into my mind. I mean, it just came up so clear to me. How did Umar got to know that there's supposed to be a verse for hijab? All right, how did he got to know about that? He's not a prophet. The Jibril does not visit him. He does not receive revelation. So how did he get to know that? So folks, from what we've seen so far, we can see that all these things, the revelation and the hadith narration concerning the hijab is nothing divine. If you're a Muslim and you keep saying, as a Muslimah, you keep saying hijab is my pride. Hijab is my pride. What is the pride on the origin of hijab according to the Islamic sources?
And so
what's the pride?
Exactly. So when we read Quran chapter 24, verse 31, which is the main verse that is also talking about hijab, now we see the result of this verse, which Muslims until today, the Muslim scholars have not agreed what part of the Muslim woman's body
should be covered.
What should be covered, and what parts cannot be covered, and we see the Sarafi or understanding of it. We see how Saudi women are covered. Can you imagine it's up until maybe 2 years or 3 years ago that they've been allowed to even drive their vehicles.
Yeah.
And this is the exact kind of oppression that we see that is beginning from here. Now, if I can take you back, Brother Korede, if you've got your Bible, if I take you back to the book of Genesis, chapter number 38 and 39, and you see the genesis of that kind of covering where everything is covered, maybe apart from the eyes. In the Judeo Christian environment of the Middle East, that particular kind of covering where you could not even tell who this kind of person is was specifically for a certain kind of people. So that even Judah could not recognize his daughter-in-law because of that kind of veiling. You know, it was this particular kind of people that it had been left to. And that's why you see a lot of things that are happening even in the Muslim world in the name of Jalbab. People are covered. You cannot tell who this person is. See, even with the veil, still the Quran says that so that it is safe for the veil to be there, so that nothing enters into their hearts. In other words, no affection, no love into their heart. But I want to tell you, my brother, the heart of a man is problematic as
it is desperately wicked. I mean, I have seen
wicked. So
we have seen situations.
It's not going to prevent sin
at all.
Completely.
At all. We have seen situations where people that are in hijab are raped. I mean, this is a disgusting thing. That is to show you how desperate the mind of a man can be. It means that the mind of mind can look beyond the cover, can look beyond the hijab that a woman is, putting on, and begin to see something else. Because the mind of man, or the mind of men, is very, very dangerous and very wicked. So I'm not saying that women should not dress modestly, but that's not the solution. That's not the solution.
To modestly.
They should dress modestly, but that's not the solution. You understand? And they were seen from the Quran and the Hadith. We're saying that the reason, the basis for the revelation of the hijab has nothing to do with actually protecting, the rights of the women. It's because of the jealousy of the man. Okay, the Prophet does not want anybody to see his wife in the public again. Umar is actually pressurizing him to actually, put on hijab, on, to sanction the hijab on his wife, and by extension, the believing women. And that is actually what came about the hijab that the Muslims are using today, especially the women. All right, the women actually are the one that use the hijab. So why is it that the women in Islam are not told the truth about hijab? Because I see a lot of them putting on this hijab. Hijab is my pride, is my pride. Why are they not told about this hijab, the origin of this hijab? I believe that if some of them know the origin of this hijab, they will feel offended. They will get angry. You understand? Because in this whole scenario, the women are the objects in this whole scenario. They are just being played around. All right.
Let me remind you something again, and maybe I'll seek your opinion on it.
Yeah.
This woman, Sauda.
Yeah.
Right after Khadija dies, is the woman that Prophet married just 3 months after. She was elderly. She took care of him. She nurtured him through the pain of being a widower. And now, because he has a younger bride and he has even Zainab, he now reaches a place where he wants to divorce her. What are we learning from the Prophet? Are we learning that a woman is a tool you can just use, and once you're done with it, you dispose of her? Is it a signal now for me to also emulate the Prophet? Because the Quran chapter 33 and verse 21 says, in the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we have the perfect example for humanity from his days to the day of judgment. So he is the mirror from which we are to measure our character. So in other words, whatever he did is good, is permissible.
Yeah.
If your wife, she's out of shape, she has these kids now, and you do not like the shape that she used to have is no longer there.
Yeah, and that's the reason for
And
divorce.
that, now you can divorce her,
Hmm.
seriously, or you can deny her of a right, or of matrimonial rights, just like
Mm.
this woman was denied her matrimonial rights, or rather she feared, because it's either I take the divorce or I give
Yeah.
away my days. And so
Hmm.
she decides to give away her days so that she could
Mm.
keep the husband. Can you imagine?
Actually, right from what we've seen so far, we can see that the hijab is nothing divine. All right. Now, we know that we can't exhaust all of the resources that we have and the comment that we need to make, because it's already 1 hour here, 1 hour, 14 minutes. Even right with the few things we've discussed, we have used 1 hour
Oh
right
yes.
here, and we actually want to keep this. We want to keep this at 1 hour.
Yeah.
Okay, so right now we're going to be getting comment from folks. Folks, if you have comments or you have questions, you can actually post in your question. We have about, I think, 10-15 minutes to wrap this up. So if you have a question, you can actually post your question on the comment section, and we'll be able to feature your question right here. We have a lot of folks right here. Oh my, a lot of people. Henry Oluwashinkopola, thank you for coming in. Kofi
A lot of
Martin
people
is
are
actually
following.
watching. Yeah, bro Kofi Martin is watching all the way from Libya. Oh my. Glad to have you, bro Kofi Martin. God bless you. All right, so we have also a
Amen.
good ton of Femi Williams. Okay, it says more of God in both of you in Jesus' name. We say amen to that. And
Amen.
we also have a comment from Oteno Mori. Oteno Mori is saying, I'm following you guys. Blessed be all. And also, we say blessed to you too. Thank you very much. God bless you. And we also have Motoraya. Motoraya is saying thanks. And we have also have our sister right here, Sister Cecilia. She's saying, God bless you both, just joining. All right, and then we have Brother Deji Yusuf, also a good friend and brother, and he's also joining and following as well. Brother came in late. He's usually the first person to come on the Season Apologies live show on Sundays, but he's coming late right now. Okay, all right. So, and then we have a comment from Latif Karim Bani. He's saying, "Is this guy okay?" I don't understand what they mean by that. Um, I
It
don't know if
means
he's
like
abusing
maybe
you. Okay, all right. So we have a comment from
we have
Pastor Donis Kone. Pastor Donis Kone is also actually Kone, so he's actually also saying I. And then we have a brother from Russia. I can't pronounce his name, but the last
brother.
one is Tech Top. All right, so I can pronounce Tech Top, and I will say, brother Tech Top, thank you very much. God bless you. So for everyone who have been watching, who have been coming online, oh, I have a brother here, so also. Bro, Biswas at the Simpson. It's nice seeing you. God bless you. It's been a while. I heard it from you, brother.
Yeah.
It's nice seeing you on the program today. So we have a couple of comments right there. We'll not be able to go to every one of them. Nana, I want to say, Nana is also saying, God bless you both for making this live session. We say, God bless you too. Joseph, oh, our dear brother, Joseph Angola. Thank you very much, Pastor Joseph. God bless you. Okay, all right. So we have a lot of hip people right here, and then we have a comment from Last Prophet. Last Prophet is saying that can we have all of these references? I mean, all of the references that we use in this in the comment section. Okay, we'll try and do that. We'll put it in the description box so everybody can have access to this. All right. So, folks, we want to say thank you to you. God bless you. And also want to use this opportunity to let you know of the program that will be coming up soon. Lord willing, next week, we're going to be having, is that next week now? That's 3rd of April. We're going to be having Brother Chaka debating. So that's next week. So that's next week, Saturday. We're going to be having Brother Chaka. He's going to be debating a Muslim brother. And that's what you're seeing on the screen right now. Brother Chaka will be debating Brother Namaru Ibrahim. Okay. So, and it's going to be an interesting debate between the two. And the topic of the discussion is Muhammad in the Bible. Okay. Muhammad in the Bible and Quran. That's what they're going to be talking about. All right. That is what they'll be talking about. And the time will be 1 p.m., the Eastern Standard Time. Oh, I don't think we need the comment right now so people can get to see the information. All right. So, okay. So, The time for the program, the debate between Brother Chaka and also Brother Ibrahim right now, that's Ibrahim and Maru, is going to be 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's going to be 7 p.m. Nigerian time, and it's going to be 9 p.m. East African time. So, folks, I want you to keep it a date next week. We're going to be having this interesting topic of discussion: Muhammad in the Bible and in the Quran. And this will be live streamed both on our brother's YouTube channel, Mwalimu Chaka TV, and also on Season Apologist Facebook and YouTube page as well. So please keep it the date next week, Saturday, 3rd of April 2021. We're going to be having this interesting topic of discussion. Let's have you online so we can watch this interesting debate. Now, tomorrow, Lord willing, we're going to be having this program coming up too. The one Quran theory examine. You know, the Muslims have been telling us that there's only one Quran all over the world. The same Quran that you use in Saudi Arabia, the same you use in Nigeria, the same you use in Kenya, in Nairobi, you know, all over the world. So we're going to be having Dr. Bani Power coming on tomorrow, Lord willing, and it's going to be 1 p.m. Nigerian time, right here on Season Apologist YouTube channel and also Facebook. And then the time is 1 p.m. Nigerian time, and it's going to be 11 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. It's going to be an interesting program, but we want to take a look at the claim of the Muslims and want to see if it's actually true that is there only one Quran all over the world. So it's going to be an interesting time that you want to spend with us. Please come around, and then if you have questions, please come with your question. We're going to be talking about it. Please make sure that you send this over to your Muslim friend. Let them see. Let them see this information. Let them discover that the myth of the one Quran is not actually true. All right, it's actually a myth. So it's something that I know they're interested in getting to learn about. And Lord willing, I'm excited to talk about this. Lord willing, this year we're going to be talking about. In fact, we're going to be having Season Apologist Conference. All right, we could not have it last year because of the pandemic. Season Apologist Conference is a conference that we have yearly. It's organized by the Season Apologist, and then we're going to be having this year's own. It's going to be on the 1st of May 2021, and the venue is not confirmed yet. Lord willing, by next week the venue should be confirmed, and every other information will be made available. All right, Season Apologist Conference is a physical conference that we have usually in Nigeria, and we have seasoned speakers to educate us, to train us on how to defend the faith and also reach out to our Muslim friends. All right, so we're going to be having the Season Apology Conference for the year on the 1st of May. Keep it a date. It's going to be an interesting time. The topic, the theme is actually unveiling the scriptures. All right, that's the theme of the Season Apologies this year, unveiling the scriptures. And the topic of discussion will be, is the Bible reliable? And the second one, has the Quran be perfectly preserved? And the third one is what the Quran says about the Bible, what the Quran say about the Bible. And we have the speakers right here: Oyebola Feromi, Evangelist Sisan Gudo Akaga, and also we have Benson Sunday. So these are the speakers for the Season Apologist Conference for this year, and it's going to be an interesting time. So please, I wanted to make it a date, and we're going to be learning a whole lot on how to defend our faith, also to reach out to the Muslims as well. So, Brother Chaka, it seems we're going to be calling it a day right now, and then I know it's going to be about, that should be about 2 p.m., getting 3 p.m. right from your hand right there. And I want to really appreciate you, folks. I want to appreciate Brother Chaka. Brother Chaka has been very instrumental to some of the things that we've been doing on the Season Apologist program. I mean, the program that we have online and all of that. I can't go into much detail, but he's been very helpful of a brother, and he's been very, very kind also. So please pray for him, pray for his ministry. He's doing a whole lot, and pray that the Lord will continue to strengthen him down there in Uganda, Kenya, right from his is that your teenage year. He's been doing a whole lot. I think one day we're going to dedicate a show to you, Brother Chaka. We're going to be talking about the things you've been doing right from where you started doing this apologetics in Tanzania. All right, we're going to be talking about that, and I would like to show folks pictures. I know they will laugh. They need to see some of these things. All right, they need to see them. Yes, they will laugh. Yes, we need to dig into the archive. So, folks, please, I wanted to pray for Brother Mwalimu Chaka Wa Musa. He's doing a great job, and pray that the Lord will sustain him, that everything that concerns him, the Lord will perfect. Pray for his family. Pray for everything that concerns him, that the Lord we actually perfect everything. All right, so folks, We're going to be calling it a day now. I want to thank everyone who's been on the program for the past 1 hour, almost 30 minutes right now. Want to appreciate you, want to thank you. So let's see you tomorrow by 1 p.m. Nigerian time and 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we're going to be seeing tomorrow. Thank you very much, and God bless you. So right from here in the studio, both myself and Mwalimu Chaka will say bye-bye to every one of you. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
We love you, Lord, we love you. Father, we give you all the glory. You are my rock, my strength, and my trust. In you I live and move and have my being. You are my shelter, my peace, and my shield.